When I was a sophomore in college, my then first Unity minister, Reverend Joyce Kramer in Virginia Beach, I was getting involved with the ministry there, and she wanted me to give a Thanksgiving talk, a 5-minute Thanksgiving talk, why I am thankful. Now, I had had some public speaking experience, but that was sort of the beginning of my public speaking, and this is the first time I was going to ever speak in a church. So I remember going home from college, James Madison University, for the vacation to give this 5-minute talk. I had a stack of books I was going to use to create my 5-minute Thanksgiving talk. And when I got home, no, I'm not overly analytical. When I got home, I said hello to my mom and stepfather, and then I got to work. 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, I'm still working, dinner time. I'm working 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Mom says, Justin, now don't stay up too late because, you want to be fresh for tomorrow's service. 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 5-minute talk. 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. I was just trying to pull together. What am I going to say? What examples? What story? Blah, blah, blah. And finally, I'm like, okay, I've got to get some sleep. I'm going to bed. And in that moment, the ideas for the talk came together. I wrote them down on a piece of paper. I went to bed, got up after a few hours, and the service went fine. The 5-minute talk went fine. The key was I stopped struggling and straining and trying to force it and struggle with it, and I let go. How many times have you in your life noticed when you're struggling and trying to push something and you just let it go, something shifted? You ever experienced that? Well, that's an expression of what Catherine Ponder calls the prosperity law of completion. Prosperity law of completion. When you've done the best you can by affirmation, positive thinking, outer action, you're doing everything you know to do, but you haven't gotten the results that you want, maybe it's time to practice the prosperity law of completion. Is there any area in your life where you've been doing that? You've been doing everything. You've been doing all the thought stuff. You've been taking action, but you haven't gotten the result yet you're wanting. How many of you had that experience? Maybe it's time to practice the prosperity law of completion, which is essentially, the problem is that we have built up this wall of resistance around us, struggle, anxiety, fear, worries, strain, and so our good can't get in. And that we can actually miss the good we're wanting, intending, because of all this that we've done. Just like I'm struggling, hour after hour to make a 5-minute talk. Too much trying. And so the prosperity law of completion is to let go of the struggle. To let go. You've done your inner work. You've done the outer action. Maybe it's time to just relax and let go. And allow the result to unfold in its own time, in its own way. That takes trust, though, doesn't it? That takes trust. Because we're in a culture that wants to do. You got to work hard. You got to struggle. Gotta make it happen. Gonna die trying. Right? And Moses, where, this is the last in our series on the millionaire Moses. I mean, there's a lot more we could learn from Moses. Moses was one of the greatest leaders in history. Certainly one of the great, if not the greatest leader of the Hebrew Bible. And he reached a point where he had spent 40 years in the wilderness leading the Hebrew people, right? Leading the Hebrew people. He wanted to bring them into the promised land. And they didn't make it yet. And he came. It was time for him to say, I'm done. It's over. We're finished. We're finished. He had to surrender. And that's where you get in Deuteronomy chapter 32, the Song of Moses. It's where Moses essentially says what he helped accomplish, what the Hebrew people had accomplished in the desert. You were hungry and God fed you. You had obstacles and God was there to take care of you. God helped bring you through the desert. And he got right on the precipice of the promised land, but he couldn't take them any further. He tried. He did the best he could. He did a lot of stuff, but he was done. He was finished. He sensed a change was coming. He was going to die soon. Some call it Moses' song of death. Death represents a completion, right? You've completed an era, and now it's time for a new thing, a new change. That's what it represents. So Moses in the Song of Moses is basically affirming, I've done what I could, and now I let it go. I let it go. I was reading some of Jerry and Esther Hicks. They have a great analogy in there of a canoe going down a river. How many of y'all been in a canoe? All you New Yorkers in here. Several of you have been in a canoe. Awesome. How about online? Y'all ever been in a canoe? Well, here's the analogy. Imagine taking your canoe. Everybody in here have a canoe in your New York apartment. You take your canoe up to the edge of the river, and the river's going. Let's say the river's flowing this way. Going this way. You take your canoe and you put it in the edge of the river. You get in the canoe and it starts going this way, but you start paddling upstream into the current. Oh, it's a struggle. Ooh, the river wants you to go this way, but you're paddling into the current. That's what we do when we are struggling, when we're straining, when we're angry, when we're fearful, when we're frustrated, when we're discouraged. We are rowing upstream. And as they say, your good is downstream. Your good is downstream. I have some interesting ideas that when you experience frustration or anger or upset, or there's something in your life that you don't like, you automatically shoot rockets of desire for the good that's the opposite of that in your life. And that, in a sense, your good is already there. It's downstream. But we are rowing up, so it's going to make that good happen. We're going to work hard. We got to make that happen. Why isn't it happening? I don't understand it. Why is there conflict? Why don't I have the money I want? Why isn't this result that? Where is my soulmate? How come I've still got this habit pattern? Why? What? See all that friction? We're rowing upstream. We're rowing upstream. Your good is downstream. So what do? You practice the law of completion. You pull the oars in the boat, and you let the current turn the boat around and take you downstream while you enjoy the journey. But that takes trust, doesn't it? You've projected you've done the work, you've affirmed the good, you've done what you could. Now let go. Let the current take you to your good. That takes trust. Allowing it to unfold. Allowing it to unfold. And now, this is a great tip, which is your emotions indicate whether you're rowing upstream or whether you're letting the current flow down to your good. Your emotions indicate that. What are your emotions telling you? Are they telling you, I'm frustrated, I'm angry? What are your thoughts telling you? Gosh, I still look the same way. I haven't lost the 10 pounds. Everybody's 10 pounds. Got 10 pounds. I haven't lost 10 pounds. Or, the business is not taking off the way it's supposed to be taking off. I'm not getting the job opportunities that I want. I'm not making the kind of money I want. I don't understand it. This is not fill in the blank, right? That stupid relative, I got to see him again at Christmas. That's indication that you're rowing upstream. And so the question is, how can we shift the thought a little bit downstream? How can you make that thought from frustration or fear or anger? How can you shift it so that it gives you a sense of relief? How can you raise the vibration? And that's the point. The vibration is more important than the action. How can you raise your vibration so that it gives you a sense of relief? Now, that means you're flowing downstream towards your good. Doesn't mean the good's going to happen automatically like that, but you're flowing in the right direction. And you're experiencing these pleasant emotions. There's a great verse in the Hebrew Bible. Delight thyself in the Lord, and he will satisfy the desires of your heart. I remember thinking about that verse 30 years ago, thinking, wow, does that mean that if you live in delight, if you live in joy, that if you delight and live in joy, you'll attract whatever you need in your life? That's exactly what it means. That's exactly what it means. Can it be that good? Wow. Can life be that good? Where you can live in joy, and that's all you need to do to attract? People are so busy struggling and straining and striving and action. Hey, I know. Done it myself. Still do at times. And what we're saying is, can you shift that thought process a little bit so that you start feeling some relief? That Christmas decoration just fell to the ground. It's so relieved now. Just take a tip from that Christmas decoration. Just let go. I said, I'm tired of hanging up here on this lectern. I'm going to take a nap. Relax and let go. And now get in with the current, because your higher self, source energy, has already created the desire, the intention that you want. Now let it unfold. Let it unfold. What is the particular challenge in your life right now? What is it that you wanted to see a result in, but it hasn't manifested like you want it to yet? You've been struggling, you've been straining, you've been striving, you've been frustrated, you've been angry, you've been whatever, discouraged. What have you been saying in your mind about that thing? What are the thoughts? What can you do to shift those thoughts so that you start to feel a sense of relief and a feeling of the result is there. I'm going to let go. It can be a simple thought, you know. I can let go. I can allow this to unfold. I can have hope about it. How many of you are feeling a shift as you think about that? Are you finding a shift in your thought there? Now, you've let your boat turn around. Now, the point is, when you change your vibration, when you change your consciousness, now whatever action flows out of that is different. Now you're inspired. Now you're coming from a higher vibration. And now whatever action flows out of that vibration is going to be very different than the vibration of frustration, disappointment, discouragement. Now you're going to have a different vibe that leads to whatever the actions will unfold from there. It's all about the vibration, the consciousness. So let's bring up, we've got some affirmations for you today, like we have done on a marker, bookmarker. And for those of you online, we're posting it in the chat. Let's do the first affirmation together now, talking about the prosperity law of completion. First, before we say this together, let's do a little activity. You ready to do an activity? All right, let's do an activity. Now, the current's running this way. The current's running this way. So what I want you to do is I want you all to stand up, and I want you to stand closer to this side. So those of you who are going to move over this way, you guys are going to move this way. You're going to be this way. And the current is running this way. You can stand up at home too. All right? I want you to get in your canoe, and you're rowing upstream, right? The current's going this way. First, you're rowing upstream. Okay? And it's a struggle. What is that good that you want in your life? It's a struggle. What are the thoughts that are going on in your head about this thing that you've wanted to manifest and it hasn't manifested yet? What is that thing that hasn't happened yet? Finances, relationship, health, some kind of physical challenge. Maybe it's some addiction of some kind. Maybe it's a certain relationship in your life. And you've just been working and struggling and doing everything you can, and there's just frustration and discouragement. But you realize that vibration, that energy is going to keep you stuck. It's going to repel the good that you want in your life. So you decide, let me shift my thought a little bit. So let's read our affirmation up here. We're going to shift the vibration a little bit now about that thing that you're rowing upstream with, okay? So let's say this together. Together, loudly. Let's say it loudly. Together, I place myself and all my affairs lovingly in the hands of Spirit. That which is for my highest good now comes to me. And now a little softer. Together, I place myself and all my affairs lovingly in the hands of Spirit. That which is for my highest good now comes to me. Now you see, that's a downstream thought, right? That gives you a sense of relief. Can you feel it happening inside yourself? Now let's whisper it. I place myself and all my affairs lovingly in the hands of Spirit. That which is for my highest good now comes to me. And now in a whisper, I place myself and all my affairs lovingly in the hands of Spirit. That which is for my highest good now comes to me. And now mentally think those thoughts. I place myself and all my affairs lovingly in the hands of Spirit. That which is for my highest good now comes to me. And now I want you to pull the oars into your canoe. And I want that current to now shift that boat around. And now feel yourself flowing down toward the good that you seek and desire. Effortlessly, you're lovingly in the hands of Spirit, letting that boat be taken downstream to your good, enjoying the floating, the journey, and living the prosperity law of completion. Float down to your good. Let the stream of Spirit guide you and take you to the good that you want. Stop struggling. Stop straining. Stop trying to make it happen. Bring the oars in your boat. Let the current take you to the good that you desire. Let the current move you in the direction that Spirit would move you. It's in its own time, in its own way. It'll happen in its right and perfect time. This or something better. You can live the prosperity law of completion. Let's get still. And we move forward this day, trusting the activity of Spirit flowing in our life. We trust you, Spirit. We trust your activity in our lives. We let it unfold in divine order and divine timing. And we live in your joy. We live in your love. We live in your peace. And we keep our minds and our hearts uplifted in your vibration as much as possible. And so it is. Amen. All right, you can be seated. Thank you. Let's take a moment now as we bless our prosperity gifts this morning. We acknowledge Spirit is our source. And we bless these gifts, knowing that they go forth as a blessing and they return in our lives as a blessing. We attune ourselves with our highest self. We attune ourselves with Source. For in our very giving, we attune ourselves with the giving activity of God. So please join me in blessing your gift today. Those of you online, hold in your heart the gift. Those of you in the space, hold in heart that which you'd like to give. And as you give it, see it as a manifestation of God's abundance in your life. And let us bless the gift together. Divine love flowing through me blesses and increases all that I give and all that I receive. Again, divine love flowing through me blesses and increases all that I give and all that I receive. Yea, God. Amen.